Hello, legends. Wow. My next guest. Well, he got blown off a mountain during SAS Selection, if that's not enough to talk about. Joe O'Connor, fascinating gentleman. Let's get into it. Joe, how you doing, brother?
Fantastic. Cheers, bro. How are you doing? It's so great to be on your show, by the way. How are you doing, mate?
Oh, it's very kind you say. Yes, I'm absolutely fantastic. Just had a mega couple of days away camping at an adventure park with my little one. He always tends to be the boss in those situations. So I'm trying not to be controlling, Joe. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I've been, I've worn the t-shirt. I know what you're saying, mate.
You got to get that happy balance, haven't you, between kind of pointing them in the right direction and being able to say when you're wrong. On the
Yeah,
other hand, you don't want to be that dad that's just always shouty, and I think there's that in all. Certainly us military types. I think we come
yeah,
from a certain type of background, don't we?
yeah. And you just got to let them explore, haven't you? And you're gonna make mistakes, and it's just been if the mistake's a big one.
Yeah, absolutely. But Joe, we're here to talk about you. Fascinating. Let's just dive straight in for those people, the sort of, those that like a good military story. And
Yeah,
I want to talk about you know, your accident whilst on selection for the SAS. And then we'll come back. I'd like to explore you nearly died 3 times as a child. And
yeah.
then, of course, you have the art of dealing with money, which is something I think we all need to have a listen to. So, yes, who were you serving with when you went on SAS Selection?
Great question. Thank you. I was with 221 Field Squadron, 101 Regiment, bomb disposal, EOD. And at that time, I was in the Territorial Army because I'd done my regs duty, which we can talk about later, between 81 and 88. I got out, became a financial advisor. And you know what? When you, like, I don't know about you, but I just got this yearning. I wanted to be back in the military. I didn't want to be back 24/7. So I joined EOD. And then at the age of 37, I thought, right, I've got to go and find the final mission. And the final mission, of course, was transferring for selection over to 2-3 Regiment. And everything was going good because they did say to me at the age of 37, you're a bit of an old timer, aren't you, mate? I said, well, just give me a crack, will you? And I've been a PTI in the military. And I said, I've been training 7 days a week, right? I think I'm up to it. Just give me a go. And we did pre-selection, which was an 8 miler over Winter Hill, which is up. It's a big hill up by the M6. And you recognise it because there's a big beacon on it, a BT beacon. Ran over that and I'm back because we thought we'd done it going over the hill. But what the DS was at the other side and just said, no, back to the truck. So like there was a bit of despondency. And then you just crack on, don't you? So I came third out of 68, which I was pretty impressed with. And they said, okay, yeah, you can do selection. That was in February, March 99, October 1999. There were 8 of us left because, you always get a few guys dropping off for various reasons. And 8 of us left and it was blowing a hoolie. The weather wasn't great. In the daytime, we're being blown over like confetti. And when you carry in your backpack, right, that's some wind to be blowing you over. And come night time, we got back to the RV, cooked our scrum night, and then the DS said, right, come on, we're off. get out, get your kit on, we're off. And that was about 6:30 on parade. And we started off at Fan 4, the Black Mountain Range. And to start with, it was okay because we're being shielded by the wind, you know, with the hill. And when we got to the top, whoa, it was blowing a hoolie. And all of a sudden, I'm just going along. And all of a sudden, this heavy backpack just becomes light. Then it's heavy. Then it's light. Then it's heavy. Then it's light. I'm thinking, what's going on? And then it's heavy and it stays heavy. I thought, wow, that hurt. And that was Saturday night. What seemed like 2 minutes later, I woke up, I opened my eyes. And then I remember being lifted by a Sea King helicopter and flown to Cardiff University Hospital. And there's a chap standing over me with a pinstripe suit, bespectacled, looking over his clipboard, saying, "Mr. O'Connor." I said, "Yeah, that's me." He said, "You were out with the SAS and the weather was horrendous. You shouldn't have been there." I thought, "No shit, Sherlock." He said, "Yes, you were lifted off your feet by a gust of wind. It threw you down the mountain. You fell 400 foot and you've broken your neck." And I thought, wow. And you know, you go in denial, don't you? I mean, I'm thinking about a couple of days earlier, I've been kicking around the football with my 4-year-old son. My then wife is pregnant with our second son. And now I'm a civvy, right? So Monday morning, it's Monday. I'm supposed to be seeing clients today about investing and commercial deals. And I'm laying in bed, paralyzed in Cardiff. And I'm thinking, and I'm in denial, right? Because this can't be happening to me. Because I was fit as 10 men the other day. And now I can't move. Is my life ended? What am I going to do? And as the doctor's walking off, I said, "Oh, by the way, Doc, can you patch me up? I've got a marathon to run in New York on Sunday for charity." And he turned around and he looked at me, and I don't know how he didn't laugh. He said, "Mr. O'Connor, I don't think it's sunk in yet. You're paralysed. You won't be doing any marathon. In fact, you'll be fortunate if you can walk. We've got to take this one step at a time. We need to operate." And I thought, wow. And then it's just, you know, you're just thinking, what's the meaning of life? That is when you're thinking, what is the meaning of life and what's going to happen? Do you know? And at that point, I was feeling pretty low. But the one thing I did want to do is I just had this burning desire to get back up. I wasn't going to accept defeat. That just giving up, failure isn't an option as far as I'm concerned. And I just wanted to get back up, get out, and get back at them, if that makes sense.
It's it's. Were you afraid? I mean, did you have a sudden sense of terror when you learned that news?
Do you know what? It's always easy because this was 25, just over 25 years ago, and it's always easy to say no or yes because memories change over time. I'd say I was feeling pretty low, and there was a point where I had spasms, right, that were hurting me so much. It was just pain that I'd never experienced before, and I cried like a baby. Yeah, I was fit because, you know, when you're fit as anything and you think you're invincible, and then all of a sudden you just find out, oh, I'm not indestructible, am I? This stuff, this real life stuff, can get you. And I know many of us, right, have that realization at various times in our careers.
Joe, was there kind of an epiphanal moment? I mean, how did you feel initially? Did you just accept that, oh, I'm never going to walk again? Or did you have a sort of, right, I'm going to kind of beat this thing like you sort of see in the Hollywood films?
That's a great question, because like A&E at Cardiff were really good at patching me up, you know, doing the operation, putting the plate in. They weren't so good, and all due respect to them, fantastic. NHS is brilliant. Spinal injuries is special. It's just like special forces in the military. You know, you're in the general military, and then you go special forces and you start to specialize. Well, then I was moved because of the regiment I was with. They said, where do you want to go? And I did my research, and it was either Stoke Mandeville, but that was away, because you can tell by my accent that I'm from the north. My family, my wife was in Kent, but she didn't like driving. So I thought, if I go to get visitors, Southport Spinal Unit is the place, because that's by Liverpool, I suppose, if you don't know where Southport is. And that is the top spinal injuries unit. And, you know, I suppose the difference, and when you asked that question, that was a great question, because you were only given access to the gymnasium, or they've got a pool there as well for hydrotherapy, where you can learn, you can walk again, but it's weightless, so it's not putting any weight on you. Do you know what I mean? Because you're in water, and you can have floats on as well. And what I discovered, they said you can only have so many times per week, because we've only got so many physios and occupational therapists. But I discovered that sometimes people will book the time and then wake up in the morning and say, I don't feel well, I don't want to do this. And I was gobsmacked, because I'm thinking, what are you wasting resources for? So I used to find out who was booked down for training the next day, you know, to use the pool or the gym. And as soon as I found out they weren't going to make it because they weren't well, and genuinely, a lot of the time they weren't well. Well, I just said, right, I'm stepping in. I want to go to the gym. I want to get going. And of course, my spinal cord wasn't severed, which means I can move. Right, my spinal cord was damaged, so I have numbness and I have pins and needles all the time. But I just wanted, whenever I had the opportunity to get training, I just did it, because phys is good for the mind, it's good for the body, it just sorts you out. And you know, it's very difficult, isn't it, to be working out and be unhappy?
Yes.
Because it just doesn't happen, because your endorphins are firing off, you know, you've got all this energy just going on inside you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no one ever regretted going for a run, did they?
No.
Unless they ran off a cliff, maybe.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you still keep fit now, Joe?
Well, yeah, I do, actually. Well, something you may or may not know was 18 weeks ago. And it's interesting, you said, did I have the epiphany, and did I think that it was the end of my life at that time? Well, we're going to talk about what happened when I was 14 and when I died 3.5 times. So it's, if there can be anything about having an injury, anything good, it's the fact that, and no matter what injury it is, whether you stub your toe, you trap your finger or whatever, the next time it happens, you're able to deal with it differently. Do you know what I mean? So when I broke my neck, I'd already had a serious injury when I was 14. So I had an idea about the psyche. And then what you may or may not know is 18 weeks ago, I broke my neck again. That was an interesting one. And it was C5 again. But when I was lying there, I knew I'd broken my neck, because I'd done it before, right? And I know it's interesting. I say, well, if you fail and you do the same mistake again, then that's not great. Well, breaking your neck again isn't great, but it did give me some insight in how to handle it. Unfortunately, I can move again. So I think the song that really gets me is Chumbawamba. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never going to keep me down. I love listening to that. It's just fabulous.
Yeah, well, it's a great Rocky Balboa quote, isn't it? It's not how hard you get hit. It's how hard you get down and then get back up again and keep going forward.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Rocky had to do that quite a lot, let's be honest, because he was a bit rubbish at taking the old punches, wasn't he?
Yeah, you know what? I love that series of films. I just think that I used to watch them when I was in the military. I just thought they were really good. As soon as you hear that trumpet fanfare, it's just gets you going. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I've got the Rocky theme about I put it about 10 times on my MP3 player. So it's not, I don't use an MP3 player now. Obviously use my phone, but what I mean is
Yeah,
I put it in the playlist about 10 times. So
yeah,
when I was running the length of the country, it just kept coming around
yeah.
and
Get you MP3 player. I used to have a Sony Walkman.
yes. Yes. Carl Weathers died, didn't he? Was it last year, year before?
Yeah,
Some. Yes. Does start making you think about your own mortality as you get older.
it does. Especially, I mean, funnily you should say that. I've been recognizing lately a lot of my heroes, a lot of the people I grew up with, looking towards and saying, "Wow, pretty cool." They're just falling off the edge now, aren't they?
Yes. Yes, unfortunately.
Mm.
So, Joe, before we come and talk about your childhood incident, you you were in bomb disposal as part of the Royal Engineers. Have I
Yeah,
got
yeah,
that right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, where did you? Where did that take you?
Well, when I was serving, we didn't have because when I was in the regs, we got out. Iraq one kicked off when I was out. When I rejoined, there was no conflict, I got injured in 1999, so I didn't serve in any conflict area. So in that respect, I'm fortunate because in times of peace you train for war, and in times of war you fight for peace. And at that time we were just training like 10 men to be the best that we could be. Uh, quite a few of my mates then went to Iraq and served there, and it wasn't that great for some of them, sadly. And this is something that we live with on a daily basis. There's some who've been fortunate, some who've been less fortunate, and even the ones who are living have difficulties with various aspects of PTSD and what have you, which we were talking about before. Yeah,
I I talk about PTSD a lot, Joe, because I meet a lot of veterans. I talk to a lot of veterans. Love this show. I
yeah,
hope I'd hope they would,
mm,
because I'm just telling quite a lot through myself. I'm telling the veteran story, and
yeah,
one of the biggest things that most people flag up, even if they don't even understand it themselves, is it's the trauma, and for most of us, this what manifests as a bit of a rubbish ability to deal with life, which is essentially what we're talking. Because if you
yeah,
take your own life, that is the ultimate sign you didn't know how to deal
yeah.
with life, right? Um, and the sorry, what I'm getting at is the childhood trauma that it's not
Mm.
spoken about.
No, no, and actually, when I after my incident, right? Because and here's the thing about why I call it an incident, because I don't believe there's any accidents in life. I think that everything you do, good or bad, leading up to something that happens, an action or an incident, is manufactured by the actions you've taken. Right. So that's why at police sites now, they don't call them accident sites anymore. By and large, they call them incident because something led up to it. So coming back to the PTSD, well, when I got in my mind that, and I got back to work as a financial advisor, I really wanted to understand how the mind works. And so I went on a journey, my mission, if you like, and I learned about hypnotherapy, how that can help, and timeline therapy, which is a whole thing that's magical, and neuro linguistic programming. Basically, I believe the military's been using NLP for hundreds of years because all it is the language you say to yourself. When you're on that tab and you're thinking, the little baddie on your shoulder or in your head says you can't do this, and the other one says, yeah, you can. Come on, let's go. And that's all NLP. It's about the language that goes on in your head. And what I did is I discovered how things can be overcome. And that's why I love working with veterans, because I recognize that my clients who can afford my services pay for my services. So those, like, I come across veterans who can afford the services, but you know what? I want to help. So where I can, I do, and there's no charge for that, because I think that we were talking about it before, and we touched on it about as I get older now, I want to give back. Do you know what I mean? I think it's important to leave a legacy of some sort. And if I can do something, if I can affect someone's life in some way to do something that they wouldn't have done had I not been there, that's fantastic. And you do it with your son. You do it. I've done it with my sons. And it's just being able to leave that legacy and say, oh yeah, I remember Joe said that, or Chris said that. And my mission is to help 1 million veterans and entrepreneurs achieve the dreams, goals, and aspirations they deserve. And whether it's through the podcast that I do, I mean, your podcast now, you've done hundreds of them, and I'm sure you're helping people that you weren't even aware of that you've helped. And this recording now, we may say something that's helped someone in some way, shape, or form, which is fabulous. I think it's a gift to me to be able to do that. It's a gift for me to be on your show.
It's a gift to have you on my show, Joe.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. You're welcome. So, you didn't serve in Northern Ireland then, because that would have been
no.
Yeah.
I had mates in Northern Ireland as well, and some interesting stories. I was very fortunate. I in that respect, I didn't serve in any periods of conflict, and when I went my first posting to Osnabrück or Osnabrück in '81, I did volunteer for the Falklands, and as far as I'm aware, and I think this is truth what I'm saying, because of the Cold War at the time, BAOR, British Army on the Rhine, they never took any forces based in West Germany, except maybe the Marines, but all the forces were UK land forces that went to the Falklands. So I did have a few mates that went there. Yeah.
Yes. It's that thing, isn't it? If you might not have come back.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you might.
And if I hadn't been injured on selection, I may well not have come back from Iraq.
And not just that, you might have had to kill someone, and I don't think that ever ends well, Joe, for someone.
No.
I was on an aircraft carrier for a year, and the lad that had the bunk bed above me, he shot a young lad in Northern Ireland in what was a bombing situation, a command wire for anyone that knows the terminology. Yeah. And I don't know if he was always messed up, this lad in the bunk above me, or whether it was this particular incident, but he's no longer with us. And I would hazard a guess it was probably, self-medicating that took him young.
Yeah, well, something like that must weigh heavy on your mind. I can only imagine, because I've not been in that circumstance at all. And a command wire, I mean, the lives that could have been lost had he not taken that shot may have been far greater than that one individual. That said, though, it's not easy, is it?
No, it's not. It's not. So going back then to when you were 14, you were hit by a car and left for dead.
Yeah. It was really interesting because I'm a Catholic. I was brought up a Catholic. I was an altar boy. And at the age of 14, my mum said to me, well, I was 13 at the time, actually. She said, Joseph, you're going to Lourdes to help the sick on a pilgrimage from Liverpool Cathedral. And I thought, Mum, it's summer holidays. What do I want to do that for? And she said, I'm 14, right? Or 13. And it was the day after my 14th birthday. We were leaving on the 21st of July. And she said, Joseph, it's because I want you to understand that not everyone is as fortunate as you are. to be able to walk, run, play. Some people have got terminal illnesses. So I thought, yeah, okay, fair cop. So we tip up at Liverpool Cathedral, and I find there's 46 kids get on this coach. And our chaperone was one priest, two nurses, two nuns and three nurses who knew nothing about kids. 1976, right? Health, safety were two separate words. They weren't joined. There wasn't health and safety. So we got down just outside Paris, and the priest said, right, kids, off you get for the comfort break. So I go bounding down the coach, jumped off, and then I go blank. And what seems like 10 minutes later actually turned out to be 10 days later. I wake up from a coma, and there's this big, massive black guy. He turned out to be a nurse, really lovely chap, actually. He's standing over me. He said, Joseph, he said, you were involved in a road traffic incident. Forgive the crap French accent, by the way. He said, you've broken both your legs, tibia and fibula, your right femur, you paralysed your right arm, you went blind in your left eye, you've been in a coma for 10 days, and you died 3 times on the roadside, and the nurse gave you the kiss of life. Now, maybe under different circumstances, I may still be with the nurse, but it didn't turn out like that. It wasn't that sort of kiss. She was bringing me back, and then at that time, this is what you've done before something happens that can make or break you. Because I've been in the Army Cadets, right, the Cheshire Regiment Artillery in Widnes, and they think, oh, you might not walk again, and because what I've found is it depends who you're talking to, and it depends who you're listening to, of what message they're going to give you. Because when you suffer an injury, if you want to be average, what a doctor's going to, or a surgeon or anyone or a nurse is going to say to you, what the average person does and the outcome for them. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Whereas I'm like, at 14, I'm just thinking, well, I don't want to be average. I want to do more than average, because like, if I ever got bullied at school, my dad would say to me, go back and give him a good hiding, or at least, oh, by the way, I'm not promoting violence or anything, but my dad would just say, go back in, stick up for yourself. And you know what? The bullies didn't bully me anymore, not because I was harder than they were. It's just that I wasn't an easy target anymore. So when I thought, I don't want to be average. So again, even though I had a full leg plaster on my right leg and a half leg on my left leg, what I'd do is I'd put myself, so effectively I'd get my legs on the bed, my waist and legs on the bed, and I'd do press ups. Right, I played the violin again to get my right arm going, because I was learning to play the violin. So that got my right arm going from being paralyzed. Because I just said, this is temporary. Fortunately, I'm not blind in my left eye permanently. It was an infection. And I just think that before you accept defeat, or before you accept the condition that you may or may not have long term, just look at what you can do to overcome it. And then when I could, I had the Long John Silver crutches, I had 2 half plasters on my leg. So I was really fast, because effectively I had 3 legs. Because my crutches are 1 leg, and then I've got the other 2. And I beat everyone to school. I used to go to school, it was about a mile going there and a mile back. And if it was raining, I'd put plastic over my plasters. Because it's just about improvise, adapt, and overcome, isn't it? And I didn't even know I was doing it, because I'm a 14-year-old kid, right? I just knew that I had to do something different if I wanted to get a good result. And then 4 years later, I joined the Army. And I went to, I don't know where you went for your initial. I went down to just outside Birmingham, right, for the 3-day training to see if I was fit enough. And I managed to get through it. I managed to get through the psychometric test, the intelligence test, which told them that I could add up, and I could get in.
So, Joe, thank you for that. I want to come on to the financial stuff now, because you are one of the UK's top rated financial advisors and an accredited master coach.
Yeah.
Can you just give us a quick sort of synopsis or summary? How
Yeah,
how
yeah,
did you get into this line of work? What did you initially do, and how did it bring you to where you are now? And then I
right,
want to look at your specific kind of niche, your style, as it were, and
yeah.
what brought you this success.
Thank you. Well, back in 1988, just after the 1987 crash, when the whole markets went down, it was like 2008. And you know what? The banks never learn. It'll happen again because it's fueled by greed, in my opinion. So I learned a lot, and I've seen peaks and troughs. My clients have been with me 20 plus years, some of them, and the one thing I've discovered is every year at budget time, things change, and that's life really. And what I've recognised is I have to conduct continuous professional development, just the same as we did in the military, which is why the military set me up so great for it, because I understand every day's a school day. And what I've discovered, in fact, there've been some massive changes in pensions since the last budget in the autumn statement last year, because I like to specialise in pension regime, investments, looking at strategies. And you know, when we were 20, well, I don't know about you, but when I was 20, right, I wasn't thinking about retirement. No way. I was too young. I was invincible. No one was going, I was never going to get old. And yet now they're looking at the retirement age for the state pension has increased to 60, is now 67, right? It will go, I reckon it'll go, it's scheduled to go up to 68. It is going to go up to 70, I think. That's just me forecasting, by the way. I've got no proof of that, although they are talking about it. Moving inheritance tax. And you see, what we've got, and I'm not the doom and gloom merchant, this is fact, right? What we've got is an aging population, and we've got less and less kids being born, babies being born. So what does that equal? It equals, because at the minute, it's about every working person, every 4 working people, between 3 and 4 working people, supports 1 retired person with the state pension. Back in the days before Bevan, they did the NHS and all of that and the social services. Banks, our bank, the Bank of England, or the government at the time, held a lot of money on deposit, gold, and that supported our currency. Those days are gone. Now, the way that the government raises money through tax and national insurance, and I mean, I don't want to go into it too much because I mean, there's days of talking here, but that's what runs the country. If you've got less people being taxed, guess what? You've got less money coming in, so they have to increase the retirement age before they can start paying for retirement for pensioners. So what that means is that people need to start thinking as early as they can about creating their own nest egg with retirement planning, retirement strategies. And whether they speak to me or another financial advisor, it's always a good idea to speak to a financial advisor as soon as you can, a good financial advisor, because they can give you strategies, tax strategies that you hadn't even thought of. And you know, the time you should allow is really with a good financial advisor to build the first relationship is about 1-2 hours, because that's where you can learn about things. And I know we were chatting about our time in the military. There was no financial advice. There was no, in fact, it's not even taught at school. I go into schools and I teach various modules, and the head teachers are always really grateful for it, because the kids don't have it on the curriculum, really. And understanding how money works is really, really important. Does that go to any way to answering your question, or is there anything else that I could cover?
No, absolutely. So, in could you just give us a short span of your career? What did you start in? What did you move on to? And how did it
Okay,
bring you to where you are now?
great question. Thank you. Well, when I started back in the days, we studied one aspect of financial planning, say a savings plan. We'd not get to know that inside out, and then we would go out and present it to clients. Then you'd learn about a pension. Then you would learn about life insurance. Then you would learn about a critical illness plan, which is something that covers you should you have a serious illness. And then I went into training financial advisors, and being a trainer, and you'll know this because I know you've trained many people, you have to be one step ahead of your student. So you have to be either fitter, faster, more up to date with whatever you're teaching. And I found that was really great for me. And that's the same with clients, because when clients come to me, they want to know particular aspects of financial planning that I hadn't even thought about. For instance, looking at what's a person's estate, and whether they've got a will or not, and whether they've got lasting power of attorney, which, forgive me, it is a technical term, but what can happen if you lose capacity and you can't deal with your own financial planning? Then you have an attorney who can act on your behalf. So there's lots and lots of things. It's a myriad of things. And what I've had to do at the beginning of each year, usually between Christmas and January, I look at what I think is going to happen in the economy going forward, how I need to adapt, what I need to educate my clients on. And it's always a changing environment. I think that we're probably in for an interesting time in the future, this year, the coming few years, because there's lots going on and there's lots of vying for position, vying for power by ministers, people in government, and it just affects the whole environment. And we were talking, weren't we, about what the media does? Because, you know, if the media put on the news, I don't know, 1 o'clock news or 12 o'clock, whichever news, right, there's going to be no bread in the shops tomorrow. Well, guess what? I can pretty much guarantee there'll be no bread in the shops tomorrow. Not because there's a shortage of dough or anything, just because everyone will go out and buy a loaf of bread because they're terrified by the media, what they put out there. So there was no shortage until they cause scarcity. And that happens in stock markets, right? Because guess who runs stock markets? I'm sure that one day they'll get AI to do it. But at the minute, it's people. And people have emotions. And they might have a bad day at home. They may have a bad day with the wife or husband or partner. They might have a bad day with the kids. They might have a bad day with the boss. And then they come in with that attitude. And then they hear one thing on the news and think, bloody hell, let's sell, let's get out. And that's what happened in 2007-8. I know people relate to 2008. It started in 2006, 5, 6, when banks were just lending money willy-nilly. And if you had a pulse, we'd give you £100,000. We didn't want to know if you could repay it. And that's greed. So I think that regulation has brought that around. And what I learned, and by the way, I was scared at that time, 2008, because I had clients and all their funds just went south. And it was a time when, usually when equities go up, gilts go down. Gilts are like money that the bank guarantee. So that's why it's like safe as houses, I suppose. And then when gilts go up, equities go down because equities are invested in companies. But in 2008, boom, everything went down. It was mayhem, right? I'm looking at clients. Clients are on the phone to me. My phone is burning, right? It's just off the hook. And all I can say is, right, we've fallen off a mountain, because I could say that, couldn't I? We've fallen off the mountain. Just give us time to get back up, a bit of rehabilitation, and we'll be all right. Unfortunately, because they would have only experienced the loss. Like if you buy 1 unit at £1 and it goes up to £2, and you bought 100 units, your investment has gone from £100 to £200. This is crudely speaking, and this isn't financial advice, by the way. If you buy 100 units at £1 and the value goes down to 50 pence, your unit holding is worth £50. You will not experience that loss unless you sell. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So at that time, I said, look, how desperate are you for the money? Well, we're not, Joe, because we invested for the medium to long term, right? So let's hold it. And guess what? From 2008 to now, it's grown exponentially and I can't say that will always happen in the future, because I've got no idea how many Muppets are going to come into power, or how many Muppets are going to be broadcasting on the news saying things are bad. What I can say is, though, time's a great healer. And you'll know that as well as I do. For most of the things, time will heal. It allows you to forget, except for some things that, like we were talking about before. So I found that using the 3 words we discovered in the military, and we're taught: improvise, adapt, and overcome, bringing that in with education on a daily basis, and going on courses, and being taught by mentors, coaches, people who are better than you. Because I find that I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I don't particularly want to be the dumbest person either, but I don't mind, because if I'm the dumbest person in the room, look how many people I've got who are better than me, who I can listen to, or I can watch and then emulate what they do, if that makes sense.
So, I'm just probably jumping ahead a bit, but resilience, Joe, what you hear that word a lot. You hear it in business, you hear it in coaching, you see it on all the social media. What's deeper than resilience then? Because obviously it's just a word, and it conjures up images of just stiff upper lip and keep going forward. And we all know that there's more to life than that. So what would you say resilience is? And then I'll have a think about it while you're speaking.
Yeah, okay, mate. Well, let me start by saying, when I look now on, say, LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or any of the platforms, I find it interesting how many absolute people of amazing wisdom or intellect and the best coaches and leadership people in the world. And yet, when I look at the actual history, they haven't got maybe the life experience that would indicate that they're able to do that, if that makes sense. And I think that resilience, because it is a popular word and it just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? I think that sometimes people are more interested in how they look and the photoshopping and all that, than just going deep inside and just having a sit down and just talk to yourself, first of all, and say, where do we want to get to? Like, but before you do that, say, where am I now? Where am I now? Because, we do that, don't we, on orientating map? We have to discover where we are, and then where we want to get to, and then how long is it going to take us, and what RVs are we going to have in between? And that's why I wrote the Pathfinder program, because the resilience comes, I believe, from having a dogged approach to knowing what you want to get. And success isn't a destination, it's a journey, right? Because as sure as eggs are eggs, there's no A to B straight line. That's not going to work. So having the resilience, using that word, is being able to improvise, adapt, and overcome. Because I think that's what resilience is. Recognizing that something's not going quite to plan that you wanted, the way you wanted it to, that dream journey, it didn't happen. So what happens when something changes, and how do you adapt to it so you can overcome the challenges? Because I don't know, you'll understand certainly the rudiments of sailing, right? And I sailed for the regiment in the army, so it was a reasonable level, right? In a 2-man dinghy, most of it, sometimes a little bit bigger of a craft. We could never set off, sail, and think we want to get to that point, and especially when you're going against the wind, and you're just going to go straight to it. You have to tack, and then you get hit by a wave, and so you have to alter your tack a bit. You have to pull the sail in, you have to let it out, you have to fix the jib, you have to move the tiller, and that's life. So I think that life is a journey in a dinghy, and the more experience you get, and the more people you're impacting, the dinghy then becomes a yacht, then a ship, a sailing ship. But it's all going against the wind, You might be lucky and you're on a run, so you got the wind behind you, but every now and again you're going to have to change direction and go against that wind, and that wind of change can be fierce at times. So I think that am I making sense
I
here?
think you're spot on, Joe. It's while you were talking, I was just thinking in my head, what does resilience mean? And obviously, it's multifaceted, but two of those facets are definitely understanding that the tough part is equally as important as the easy part. That, in life, there's no life without hardship.
No.
There's just a cushy, easy, life that doesn't get you your end game, your end goals. And the other thing, I think, and this is a massive one, it's resilience is the ability to stop trying to be like everybody else.
Yeah.
And I see it, anyone who watches my show knows the thing that upsets me the most about society at the moment is, well, there's a couple of things, is people that don't say hello in the high street.
Yeah.
And why? Because they've just copied that this person doesn't, or their parents haven't done, and it's I just think when you see people, I mean, I saw it this morning. I was out for my morning run. Going down one pavement. There's a bloke on his way to work on the other, and I'm like this. Nah, completely zombified.
Really?
Petrified of just going, all right, mate.
Yeah.
And this isn't a criticism of people, although if it is, I'm not apologising. It's an observation that what does that guy think he's going to get out of life?
Yeah.
He can't even say hello. He's so scared and brainwashed by his media, by his social circle. I bet during the medical nonsense, he was the first person to whack a face mask on, and he's wondering why his life isn't getting him to where he wants to go. So that's my contribution is, if you want an exceptional life, stop trying to be like everyone else, because everyone else strives for mediocrity. Insane.
And because when you were talking about that pinged something in my head, because I say regularly, and I say to my lads, I say, if you see someone without a smile, give them one of yours. And I get it as well, because when I'm walking along, I'll just say, hello, how you doing? And they look at you first, especially when I remember I was speaking to someone the other day, and they said London's a bit different now. When I worked down in London, right, because I'm a northerner, right, and we're friendly people generally, and down in London it's a fast-paced life, and maybe they just don't think they've got time. And I used to strike up a conversation on the tube, the underground, and they'd look at me funny. I said, it's all right, I'm not a weirdo. I'm from up north, and we like talking to people. And then they'd have a laugh and start talking. I think that, as you say, if you want to be exceptional and have exceptional results, you got to do exceptional stuff, haven't you?
Yeah, you just got to have the ability to think, well, if we get one life in this, I always say this set of molecules because I believe in eternal life. I think we're just energy, and in this form called Chris at the moment, the energy is experiencing itself through this crazy thing called evolution. And then the energy will leave these molecules, they will disintegrate back and eventually become particulate matter, even photons go back,
Hey, you're getting too scientific for me here, mate.
Well, I wish I understood it a bit more, Joe, but I understand the basics. And what I understand is that in this one life, take it seriously. Take yourself seriously. And I just would think it was a crime if I didn't live out every single dream that I ever wanted, to a reason. I mean, you got to stop.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't intend to adventure for the rest of my life, because at one point I want to sit back and rest on my laurels a bit and have some memories and spend more time, or spend even more time with my family, so to speak. But it's just funny. I mean, I go on a lot of podcasts, and I was on one recently, and the host was absolutely such a lovely, lovely guy. But he kept saying, "Oh, you, Chris, you're just, you're bloated." And I was like, "No, you don't understand. I live an adventurous life because it's easier than having a job and working 9 to 5. I can't do that. I cannot sit there in that environment. And if people have got a great job, I'm envious of them. I'm not knocking people who work or anything like that. I'm just saying, for me, I found working for someone else an awful, awful, soul destroying experience.
Yeah.
And it's far easier than to get your coffers together and get a rowing boat, jump in it with your mate, chuck in a bottle of Jack Daniels and some Scran, and then row across the Atlantic. It's that simple. Plus a bit of safety. Obviously, you got to teach yourself, like, which way does a compass point? Oh, that way. We want to go west, don't we? So we're going that way, mate. I mean, it's not rocket science. No. And that way you get some nice memories to look back at.
And what I loved about that description, because I've got a pretty good idea how much planning went into just hopping into that boat with Jack Daniels and a few sandwiches. That was the way you approached it, though, because it was just a task to you. And you've got all the detail, but sometimes, because my missus is great at detail, right? And it'd be like, hey, come on, let's go, let's advance, let's go. And then my missus would say, oh, what about your rations? What about your stuff? I say, oh yeah, we just, because I want to get forward and get on. And then you come back and you do your assessment, and the detail comes later. You just got to have that vision to want to go and get it done, don't you?
Yeah. And of course, I'm being a little bit simplistic.
Yeah.
I mean, we put a year into fundraising. We spoke with the charities a lot. We obviously had to get the boat seaworthy. There's all of this, but I'm not starting the conversation with all that, because I don't want to put people off doing it. And all that stuff, you got to do it anyway. You go and do your 9 to 5, and then you come back in the evening, you dedicate maybe, a couple of hours to making your dream come true. But I'm not superhuman. I told you, if you come to me with a row machine, I'll throw it out the window. I don't want that mentality. I don't want someone that thinks it's a physical challenge. I want someone that thinks it's a fundraising challenge to raise awareness of the fact our veterans are killing themselves at a stupidly high rate. If you can't take that on board, I don't want you, because all you're going to be doing is thinking it's some sort of macho stunt where you've got to prove your ego, and I'm just not that person, It's like anyone can get in a boat and pull on a set of oars. If you can't, then I'd be worried, So I'm simplifying it a bit, obviously, but I watched Blue Peter as a kid, and I saw Peter Duncan run the London Marathon. Oh my God, they made out it was like the hardest thing in the whole, that he was doing some sort of ninja test. But it was so good to actually apply for the marathon myself. Didn't get in, so I found a charity that got me a place. And I went out, I did the training. You get 6 months to train from when you're in. I was running across Dartmoor in the rain. I was very proud of myself, Joe. I was doing it. No one was had a gun to my head. I just decided I want to do this, and it felt good. And when I crossed that finish line, 3 hours 56, I'd actually beat
good lad.
Yeah, I beat the 4 hour, which is, they say, if you're over 4 hours, you've walked some of it. If you're under 4 hours, you've run all of it, and that is so true. I just want everyone else out there to understand your mindset is what you adopt. It's not, you don't inherit it. I mean, you inherit facets of it, of course. But what I mean is, anyone tomorrow, if you want to row an ocean, if you want to climb a mountain, if you want to run just decide, buy your ticket, pay whatever the deposit is to whoever is asking for it, then you're in then, aren't you? And the rest of it will work. And absolutely worst case scenario, you haven't made your money that you need within a year, you do it the next year. That's it. So,
and you just got to commit, haven't you? You just got to make sure that you're committed.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I'd love to start talking about Everest, but we'll save that for a private chat afterwards, Joe.
And Everest, that's interesting, because I've done Himalayas, I've done unclimbed peaks, and they were interesting. Everest is, I mean, hats off to you, mate. Everest is a good one.
Well, a lot of people will criticise you for wanting to climb Everest, and I think what comes out of people's mouth is just about their ego, really. The first thing people say, Joe, when you say that you're climbing, I don't care if people want to call it walking up Mount. Fine, I don't have an issue with that. I'm walking up Mount Everest. I've got a Sherpa who I'm helping out of poverty, who's probably who's going to go with me. I've actually got
and the Sherpas, when we did, sorry to cut across you, mate, but when we were doing an unclimbed peak, we walked through this village, and in the earthquake, the school had been crumbled, like just decimated, and like these, like this, like the Gurkhas, like what soldiers they are, because when they go home on leave back to Nepal, some of them have to walk 3 days to get home. I mean, and they don't have much money, and it's just amazing. So well done for doing what you're doing.
And so, yes, I'm walking up Everest. I'm enriching a Sherpa's life by doing it. I'm bringing all my rubbish back down with me because that's the law in Nepal.
Yeah.
I'm not going to rely on bottled oxygen any more than I have to, if at all. And even if I do, if I go scuba diving to the deepest a human being can go, I take bottled air with me. That's just, if I'm climbing the highest mountain, you take bottled air. Some people are very fortunate and dedicated; they can do it without. And it's not what we used to say in the military. It's not a pissing competition.
No.
And so, what am I doing? I'm making a childhood dream come true. Something I've been passionate about now for 30 years. 30 years as an adult, I've been reading, watching books, reading, Bonington, Chirpa Tenzing, Edmund Hill, all of it. And in addition, if I sit here at home and do nothing, or maybe send out a few emails, how can I raise awareness of the fact we've got a veterans' mental health dilemma, and that I think I'm the only person that is saying we need to look at unresolved childhood trauma in order to understand veterans' mental health? I'm the only person saying it, Joe, and yet I think it's the elephant in the room that everyone's missing. And if I can shout that from the highest mountain on the planet, I think that's a good thing,
And you've just triggered something for me, because when I was studying timeline therapy, hypnotherapy, and neurolinguistic programming, unsurprisingly to you, maybe surprising to your listeners, is that the way we are engineered is formulated at the age 7 or before.
Absolutely.
So you're dead right on it happens, childhood trauma. Or when someone says to you, you stupid boy, or you stupid girl, or you shouldn't do that, you can't do that, you'll never be able to do that. And it's when people as adults are still listening to that voice. And I'm like, what do you want to do that for? Because whoever said that to you, A, was rude, B, was out of order, and C could probably have done with a good kick up the backside, because they had no right whatsoever to say that to you.
Yes. So it's all good. If someone wants to criticise me for flying to Nepal, I won't disagree with them. I'm burning up the carbon or whatever is it, Then yeah, I think that's a whole nother like narrative again. But the fact that I'm going to put together, over £30,000 that's irrelevant, because if I even improved one life, that's priceless.
Yeah.
If I save one life, that's priceless.
Yeah.
But I tend to find when I do these things, the feedback and response is utterly phenomenal from traumatized veterans, because they email me. Some of them even come, and when I ran the length in the United Kingdom, they came and met me on the side of the road. They brought me sandwiches, and I sat in their car while they told me their story and how no one had ever got through to them, and still that until they started watching my videos as I was running along, and they were listening, and I was just talking about healing, understanding, putting everything into context, framing the fact we live our life. We don't compare ourselves to anybody else. And even at your lowest ebb, when you're living in a bin bag on the street, you can still smile and say, thank you, God. This is who said there was supposed to be anything more,
Yeah.
And so there we go. Sorry, Joe, just gone off on one there a bit.
No. In fact, no, that was very interesting for me, because what I find really a really powerful process is twofold. Being grateful for whatever you have. If you wake up in the morning, that's a start, isn't it? Grateful for that, grateful for smiling. The other thing, of course, is forgiveness. Right. I heard someone say once, I can forgive, but I'll never forget. And I thought, well, you're not forgiving then, are you? And if someone's done you a bad one at some point in your life, and every time you think of him, you get really angry or really upset, and then you start eating away. The person or persons who did that don't know that you're feeling upset. And if they did, they'd probably be glad. So you're the only one getting upset by not forgiving. Does that make sense? So if you forgive them, it's actually for you, not for them.
Absolutely. And also, a part of building empathy is to look at other people who've done you wrong and say, what was their life like? What was their dad like to them? Was their dad available? Did they even know who their dad was? Was he belting them, knocking them senseless every 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Have they just... And what you'll find is, you must know this, when you go to a military reunion and there's, maybe anything up to 300 of you there, and you meet that person that you really rucked with back in the day, I've met people I've had fisticuffs with. It's not even mentioned, Joe. You've all moved on. You've all grown up. You was kids. Do you know what I mean? You was kids in uniform. You've all grown up, and so it's not about accepting people's bad behaviour towards you. It's about being able to understand, so you're not living in a delusion. And that you can frame it accurately, and that sets you free then to move on whilst building your empathy for other people. And life's never supposed to be easy.
No. And and being successful isn't easy either. When you hear someone say, oh, you're really lucky you are. Oh, yeah, right. Okay. It took me 20, 30 years to be lucky. Yeah.
Absolutely. Joe, come on, tell me about your Pathfinder program, and then we'll talk about your veterans work.
Right. Okay. Well, the Pathfinder is something that took me 7 years to put together. What happened was, and I won't name any names, but I went into WH Smith's and I saw this journal, and I think it was like headlined as "Make this your best year yet" or something like that. So I opened the journal and it was just full of blank pages. They had gone to the trouble of putting lines on them, but there was nothing written. And every now and again there'd be a motivational statement from the Dalai Lama or someone at the bottom to make you just think. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be great if, because I was using the military acronym KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And I thought, I'm no good at journaling, even though I've studied thousands, hundreds, thousands of hours, probably tens of thousands of hours. But I still don't know how to journal unless you show me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm monkey see, monkey do. You show me what good looks like and I'll do it. But if you just give me a blank page, I might not know exactly what you want me to do. So I thought, I want to create something, a guide that will get people thinking. So it will take them from not knowing to knowing. Does that make sense? So the Pathfinder is, in military terms, reconnaissance, strategic advance, and tail end Charlie. And if you don't know what that means, is recce, get in behind enemy lines, find out what's going on. Strategic advance, the battle, right? Get stuck in, roll your sleeves up, and sort things out. Tail end Charlie is where you bring everyone up to rear, make sure your rations are there, all the rest of it, supplies, a lot, any injuries, right? So in the context of the Pathfinder, reconnaissance, really short chapters, couple of pages, and the first one is make your bed. And you've probably seen Admiral H. McFadden Google make your bed, and it takes you, he was a SEAL, and it takes you through that. And it was when he did a speech to university students. And I thought, that's great, because guess what? In the British Army, and we've been around longer than the American Army, or Navy, or Marines, make your bed, what does that mean for me? So I wrote about make your bed. It's more than just making your bed and hospital corners and all that and a bed pack. Making your bed is making sure you've got a safe environment to come back to. So reconnaissance is about getting the mind sorted. Strategic advance takes you through really deep dive. And then tail end Charlie is where you record every week for 52 weeks, and then there's a 4 weekly review and a 13-week review, because there's 4 13s in 52. And it doesn't start on the 1st of January, it starts whenever you start. So I wanted to make sure that you could make this your best year yet. And with the Pathfinder, I have a 12-month money back guarantee. If it doesn't work for you and you haven't changed your life, you get your money back. However, there is one caveat. If you want your money back, you have to send it to me and show me that you filled it in. If you send it back and there's nothing completed, then I just say, crack on, fill it in, and then see what it does for you. And that's what the Pathfinder was all about. And it took me, and you don't reinvent the wheel. I've used stuff from other things that I've discovered. I've used my own stuff, and I've just created the Pathfinder, which I'm really enthusiastic about. And you can probably tell by the way I describe it. And the way to look for that, you can go on joeteams.com, 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 and that's where you can find everything about what I've created. Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely. And so friends at home, they get in touch with Joe. I'm sure he won't mind you getting in touch with him. No commitment at this stage. Your veterans work, Joe, could you tell us, is it Transformation for Veterans?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Working to build veterans lodges?
Yeah. And we've got planning permission for a number of lodges up by near Alton Park in Cheshire. And what I found was, and I guess you'll understand maybe about this, when there are courses, say, for a veteran and they go away to do a course of treatment or therapy, and they come back and they say, hey, my PTSD is a lot better now, or my condition is a lot better. and they've come back to the wife, husband, or partner, and maybe the kids, and the partner says, well, that's great for you, what about us? And then water finds its own level again, doesn't it? So then the veteran or the one still in the military comes back down to a level because the family wasn't taken together to the new phase or the next level. So the lodges, right, which we haven't built yet, by the way, but I still help veterans with learning how to develop businesses, their own businesses, and how to network, and that is all found on the membership site. Well, then my mission, like I said, is to help 1 million veterans achieve the dreams, goals, and aspirations they deserve. And it's not about having a pity party either, right? It's about equipping the family element, whatever the family is. The family could be an individual veteran, or it could be with kids. It could be with a husband, wife, partner. And just to show them a different way, because, you know, if someone was in a mortar platoon and they're getting out, or they get out, and they think, you can't use a mortar in Civvy Street, so what good am I? Well, it's not about firing a mortar. It's about what you had to do to get to the position to fire that mortar. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I think that often veterans forget that, because whether you want to set up your own business, get a job with an employer who's really great, it's about selling yourself, and not selling the fact that you could fire a mortar. It's about selling yourself that you've got the discipline, reliability. You can work in a team. You know, these people who put on a CV, I can work as a team and I can work as an individual. Yeah, maybe. If someone's been in the military, that's true. That's definite true shit, that. I mean, they can do it. And they've got lots of soft skills. When I talk to employers, if they put a military guy, man or woman, against a civvy guy, you know what? Usually, and by the way, I'm not saying civvies are stupid or rubbish or anything. I'm just saying that it's a different mindset. And if you want to get stuff done, if you want to get shit done, I'd like to give it to a veteran, because I know that once I've turned my back, they're going to crack on. Because the sooner they get finished, the sooner they can knock off.
So these lodges, Joe, have any been built already, or is this a?
We've just got a few things we're planning to clear. But we still help veterans anyway. And once this is built, that's what I'm going to be doing next to raise money. So maybe we can have a chat about that as well. But we're raising money. It's a big project. It's a multi-million-pound project. So yeah, and I'm just in the throes of doing some things with the highways and planning to make sure it's right.
So, parting shot then, Joe, what advice would you give to people watching or listening now who are going through adversity and it's been getting them down?
Yeah. First of all, I'd established where you are now. And by the way, I wouldn't stay there too long, because that's probably not a good place. Then decide where you want to get to. And by the way, if you're in a position, see, like, here's another thing about all these Photoshop people on LinkedIn and Instagram and all that, who say, wow, you can make millions in 24 hours. Like, there's no need to say you want to get from A to B, and B, the destination is you want to be a multimillionaire, because that might be a place you want to be at some point. First of all, just the same as when we used to go on a journey, we'd set RVs, wouldn't we? So we'd determine what RV, and that's like the Pathfinder. It goes through every chapter. It's not chapter 1, chapter 2. It's RV1, RV2. So you need to set out a concise, deliberate, and strategic way to where you want to get to, and decide. Like, the first one might be get out of bed with a smile on my face. What a cool thing to do. And then it'll be get out of bed, smile on my face, go for a walk, then go for a jog, then go for the job. Or do better. Next time I'm walking past someone, say hi, smile at them. Or if you're already doing that, then it might be, what's my next hustle? So Winston Churchill said something which I always think of. Well, he said two things: never, ever, ever give up. or give in. And the other one is, when you're going through tough times, keep going.
Absolutely. Joe, that's bang on. That just leaves me to say, stay on the line, mate. Just when I play us out, so that I can continue chatting with your wonderful self, and also say a proper thank you. But for the purposes of recording, this has been fascinating chat, Joe. I'm glad you survived your near-death experiences twice.
Thank you, mate. So am I.
Yeah. It's good to see someone so chipper and you know, as they say, raising the energy. And friends at home, we'll put all Joe's links below. So if you want to get hold of him, you can do so. And that just leaves me to say massive thank you to all of you for watching. Special thank you to the people that support me on Locals, Patreon, or become a YouTube member for $1.99. Loads of perks and benefits there. And I flashed up my Everest fundraiser. I'll just give it another show. Thanks to everyone who's chipped in a $5. Some of you have chipped in even more, but I've only asked for a $5. Let's help me spread the message about the childhood trauma stuff, folks, because it affects all of us, and it's just not being talked about. It's not being talked about. So there's a link below for that. There we go. Massive love, everyone. Go steady. We'll see you soon.